Hey guys, I'm Lawrence from Wagner Cosplay, and in this video I'm going to go over my Katchan's cosplay as well as my experience with Long Beach Comic Con's Masquerade. Okay, so this is going to be the first episode of a competitive cosplay series that I'm trying to put together for this following year and the next year, or this year and the following year, as an effort to try to understand the different masquerades that we have going on, especially the emerging cons that we have. Secondly, to meet other contestants, and third, most importantly, to share personal experience as well as provide tips and advice for you if you want to start doing masquerades. So let's get into it. So for Long Beach Comic Con, it was, there was no requirement to enter the masquerade. You basically go on the website and you just signed up. So the pool of people there was a lot of people. There were 60 people. There was prejudging, but everyone only had about a minute to a minute and a half to basically sell their costume to the judges. That being said, I had a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, but I couldn't get into in that minute and a half that I had. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of walk you guys through my costume and my build process. So I had a lot of things that I did, but the only thing that was actually asked was my gauntlets. Well, if you guys watched my YouTube tutorial, you guys saw how I built this and everything. So just check that out if you haven't already. But the judges basically stuck on this, and they had I had my character reference just to show them, and that was like a minute and a half went by like so quick. So that's all I talked about. So that I want to talk about everything else, and I'm going to do that in this video. So these grenades, I 3D printed these, I 3D modeled them in Fusion 360. I'm like not that good in it, but I'm starting to like it. I'm starting to pick up the techniques and whatnot on how to model better. But that's just a sphere, and then I did some Boolean functions to get these holes in, and I made a little hook so I can hook that on my belt. And this piece right here is a dowel. It's a 1.5 inch wooden dowel that I insert into the grenade shell, and I did that 4 times. I was going to make a mold, but because of this hook because of the way the shape is, if I made a mold, I would have to do a 2-part mold, and it would be kind of hard to do that hook in the mold, and I'm not that good at mold making, so I didn't want to mess up considering I only had a week to do this. So I just 3D printed them. So I have 4 of these. So the belt is pretty basic. I bought these buckles at Joann's. So this buckle is a buckle for a 1.5 inch elastic band, which I also got at Joann's. So bought that. I made this out of 5mm craft foam, put some elastics on it so that when I wear it, I can move it around. I don't know if I can wear it for you guys right here. I think so. Yeah. So I can move that around. So that gives me flexibility. And then I just painted these with the Rust-Oleum satin green, and I put a clear coat of satin on top of it. And that's it. So that's pretty basic. And then the grenades, they sit like that. So I didn't have this for Crunchyroll Expo because I didn't have enough time, but I finished it for Long Beach Comic Con. I don't know what you call these, but these are like the side pockets or like side grenades, or I don't know. There's this thing that hangs off his legs. Yeah, so this was pretty straightforward build. I have, if you look here, you see that semi-rectangular piece. I designed that on Inkscape, did the holes and all that stuff, and that laser cut that out. And then this piece over here, same thing. There were these 3 trenches that I made. Cut those out. So this whole wrapping is just one piece of foam that wraps perfectly around here. And there's this nasty seam line because when I had designed this, I had made it with these slits so that I can loop this into it. But when I put it together, when I had fully assembled it, I didn't have any work room to actually glue the nylon webbing to the foam, so I had to basically cut this open again and then, you know, glue that in and then re-glue it. But anyways, that's not too big of an issue because this seam part is against my leg. So then these are basically 2mm craft foam that I laser cut, and then I put it on the back of this nylon webbing. I did this design because when I looked at the character reference from on Google, the drawn character doesn't have any of these details, and when I made the costume, if I didn't have the details, it would look kind of plain in real life. So I made these because I looked further for more reference pictures, and I found I think a Ban Presto toy that actually had these details. So I added the details, and it's really cool because it makes the costume look so much better and more realistic. So the knee pads, they're pretty straightforward, I guess. Let me see if I have the pattern somewhere. Okay, so I made this knee pad using this pattern that I made. So I had some foam working experience, so I kind of realized how the darts would line up, and I just made my pattern. These circles or ellipse are kind of like markers for where I did this. So I didn't cut all the way out. I only cut it about 3/4 of the circle so that I can push it in, and that gave that cool look, indentation, I guess. And then these circles, I cut them out on the laser. Same with this. And then once I assembled that, I had this shape. I wanted it. And then this piece I sewed together, which is I think this is a wetsuit fabric, which is better than the 4-way stretch. It is a 4-way stretch fabric, but it's a little thicker. This is pretty straightforward. If you have the pattern, you can just cut this out on foam, and I'll make a video on that, on how you do this, how this pattern out for you guys to download if you guys are interested. Pretty straightforward sleeve. So this thing was, if you look online, there's like, the thing with anime is like it's drawn by many different artists, so there's a lot of takes on how certain things look. But anyways, with the reference picture I used, it had kind of a curve to it, and I know that some reference pictures have this hard corner. So I don't know, either way, whichever design you go for, I like the curve, so I went ahead and I designed this with the curve. So how I did this was I 3D molded it in Fusion, and then once I had the proper size and everything and the curve, I took that file over to Pepakura, I unfolded it, and then playing around with the unfolded pieces, I printed that out onto a piece of paper and then transferred those patterns onto foam, and then I made this. So this piece is actually, so there's that seam line which is symmetric on left and right, so that allows me to work with one piece and also gives me room to put magnets in between here. So underneath this neck piece, inside of it, there are actually magnets in which I can hook on and have magnets so that on my shirt, so that this wouldn't be swinging around too much. But when I put this on for Crunchyroll Expo, I realized that was the first time putting the costume on. I realized that it was pretty well fitted, so I didn't really need the magnets. But in case you want the magnets, you could do that. Anyways, that's how you make the neck piece. I'll have the patterns for that out too. These holes were just made with a brass rod. So I had the patterns, and then once I patterned that onto the foam, I used my brass rod, and then I kind of sharpened the brass rod like so, and then I just went ahead and dug into the foam like that. So that's how you make these holes. So I have the mask I made too, which I like. So this is the second mask I made. The first mask I made was this one. So that's the first mask. It's a little, it has harder edges and kind of, I don't know, it just fits kind of weird on my face. So I made this one, which fits a lot better. It's not so mean looking, I guess. And then, so this is just craft foam. I have the sculpt. I'm trying to be fast here. I have the sculpt. So I bought this mask thing off. Okay. Alright, so I bought this mask off at Michael's. This is Monster Clay, which is I found it, this is the first time using Monster Clay, and I love it. It's great stuff. You basically heat it up so that it becomes, what do you call it? You can shape it and sculpt it at that point. But once it cools down, it becomes like it has like a wax texture, so you can carve into it, which is really cool. Anyways, so I have the Monster Clay onto the mask. I drew the patterns on I drew the pattern or how I thought the mask would look on me, on this face, which is not accurate, but I drew it on here and then I sculpted. I put clay onto it and then I sculpted from there. It's a little beat up right now because it's been sitting out for a while. And then once I had this sculpted, then to the desired shape I wanted, what I did next was I got 2mm thick craft foam. I put it in the oven, let that heat up like for I think 20-30 seconds, so that it's really soft. And then I just basically pressed it on top of this sculpture, and that kind of gave the impression that you see here. Okay, then that's how you kind of make it's almost like a vacuum formed, except I'm not using a vacuum, so it's like heat formed craft foam. Speaking of which, I am planning on building a vacuum form machine at one point, so stay tuned for that one. I'll be doing some other cool stuff with that. But anyways, once you have this mask made, I just added the elastic to the back, and then I added these little wings that stick out because Kachan has that. But then the problem was when I was looking at the character reference, this mask, he also has the wings that kind of stick out on the back of his head. So I was like, okay, well, if I put this onto the mask in one piece like that, then when I go ahead and put the wig on, then I'm gonna see this whole band. I'm gonna see this whole band that's gonna go around my ear and everything, and I don't want that because that's not what the character has. So what I did was I had, let me see if I can do this on this guy. Come on, this guy's head's really small, but I think it might work. Okay. Oh, come on. Don't break my mask. Okay. Anyways. Yeah. So, have the mask on. Put the wig on next. And then, the next thing I did, okay, didn't look like that. Okay, anyways. So you have the wig and the mask on, and then I put these like that, like so it's stuck on like that. And the cool thing, I want to talk about that because I thought it was pretty innovative, but I didn't have the opportunity to talk about it. So anyways, I'm going to show you guys how I did that right now. There's magnets behind here, and I got some faux hair, well, wig hair, faux hair. I got some leftover hair when I styled my wig to put on the back of this wing part, because if you didn't do that, it would look really nasty. You would just see like foam on the back of the head, and the character doesn't have that. So just trying to stick to accuracy, I put some leftover pieces of hair on the back of the wings. So yeah, let me see. I should stick on like that. So it looks like that. Okay. And that's easy because you can just take it off. And you don't see that black band on it. So that's kind of how you make that invisible look that you see in the anime. Cool. Okay. So that was that. We're almost done. And this wig actually started off, this is an Arda wig. Started off like this. This is an ash blonde wig. I bought two, you're probably asking why. This one I'm gonna probably redo my cloud wig. So I have this guy to do. But anyways, it started off like that. I styled it, and it looks like this. I could go over a video on how I styled it. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. But this is what I used. I didn't have Gatsby because of where I live, so this is the best one that I found. I think I put a story on my Instagram where I asked which hair product I should use, Garnier or Old Spice. So the verdict is use this. This is much better and more effective. It holds better too, and makes your wig look a lot better. So yeah, use this. Done. We got the gloves I made. First time sewing gloves together, so my sewing skills are like really bad. I'm working on it, but anyways, I got these together, so I'm proud. And then I went ahead and did some details. I put the all the details or armor pieces on the digits and put some padding on the knuckles and all that stuff, so that makes it look a lot bigger. I think in the character references they look almost like hockey gloves, but in the hockey gloves that they didn't have the colors that I wanted, which was like the orange on the back and the green on the front, and they were also like $100. So this is way cheaper. Just make your own. I can show you guys how to make that too. It's pretty. I can just talk about it right now. Let me see. If you know how to make this spandex foam, I found the tutorial like online, like how to make gloves. So if you make that, then what I did was each of these little raises or armor pieces is a 5mm craft foam, which I then wrapped around the same material I used to make this. Basically wrapped it around, used contact cement, and then I glued it on the pieces, like so. If you guys follow my Instagram, you'll probably see a work in progress photo or post of that. So I think putting this detail on makes it look so much better. Anyways, so that's that. And the thing that I'm bummed about, so these boots, like I made these, and like the judges, they didn't even ask me about them. So that's like, because from my experience with masquerades, I always get, the first time I did my masquerade with Cloud was, I got feedback saying that I didn't make the boots. So that's something that I always pay attention to now. So I actually made these boots and they came out pretty decent, you know. So I had the Velcro, all that stuff on it with a zipper on the back so that I can slip it on and off. From my experience building my the Link boots, I didn't have a zipper, so it was really hard to put on. So when I came to this boot, I knew that, okay, I put a zipper on. And it also gives it a nice taper on the back. So yeah, so these boots came as, what do you call it? Boom, like that. Got this at Walmart for 20 bucks. Yep. So basically they look like that in the beginning. So what I did was basically I cut off the tongue to reduce the volume that I would of the whole boot. Took off all the lacing. Once I had that, I made a pattern, a shoe wrap, basically a boot cover pattern. So you see that sits right there. So I went ahead and put some details. I stitched along here just so that it would kind of match that look right there. Did that. All these pieces were laser cut. You can do it without a laser cutter. I can show you guys how to do that too some other time. But basically all these pieces were laser cut. I colored them orange and then I put it on. And then this piece is kind of falling off. Put it on right there. Put with some Velcro. Just attached on right there. I would put more Velcro, but when I made these boots, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning and I only had like the square Velcro, so that's what I used. Anyways, yeah, and then I added this is 2mm craft foam. Same with this 2mm craft foam. I added some dirt, some grime. Yep. And I just colored this orange. So the tip is, this is rubber, so just like foam, you hit it with some Plasti Dip. Obviously you mask off the boot first, but once you mask off the boot, you hit it with some Plasti Dip to seal it up, and then you hit it with the color that you want. So that's what I did here. That's how I got this orange to stick on the foam, or onto the rubber. And yeah, that's it. That's the boot. Oh, also, like, I have a 5mm I have a 5mm foam in right here on the shin. That gives it like volume and makes it look not so, well, it makes it look like more like a boot when I'm wearing it. If you look at my cosplay pictures, that's that right there. So I'm really sad because they didn't ask me about that, and then some people have asked me if, like, where I bought my boots, and I'm like, dude, I made it. So that's that. So that's it. That's my whole costume. So I didn't get to talk about any of that at the Masquerade, besides the gauntlet. So you know, so you guys know I didn't place. You know, not sad, just surprised because I came to the judges afterwards and I asked for a score sheet because usually there's a score sheet. Because it's a prejudging, there was no score sheet. So that's something that Long Beach Comic Con you guys should definitely do if you guys are going to have a prejudging at all. Secondly, if you're going to have a prejudging, you just saw what I talked about in my costume. 1 minute is not enough. Don't half-ass it. Basically, just like cut down the contestants if you have to. Like Anime Expo only had 30 contestants. You guys, Long Beach Comic Con had 60 people. So that being said, it's not the judges' fault per se. It's more the organization's fault. They should have organized it better. They should have gave prejudging. They should have taken prejudging more seriously. Definitely give a score sheet because that's valuable feedback for the contestants. So, like for me, I can look at that and see what I can work on in my costume and like where I failed. What I could have done better as a contestant is I could have had printouts of my work in progress, printouts of my character reference, and basically have that for each of the judges. So that they can have a better understanding of my character. Also, the third thing that I observed from going to that Masquerade is that because there's no, actual prejudging, real prejudging, and there's no feedback, so I can't really say. I can only project what, like why I didn't win or why I didn't place. Is you got to know your crowd and your con. So I went to Crunchyroll Expo the week before, and the crowd was completely different because it's anime, and so the crowd is different. And so this one is a comic convention, so you would probably have a better chance of winning if you comported with the theme. Not to say that you can't win, because I know that Anime Expo 2014, I believe, there was like someone that dressed as a scarecrow, and they placed. I don't know what they won, but they placed definitely in Anime Expo. Long Beach Comic Con also had an anime best anime award. So it's not to say you can't win, but it's definitely based off of popularity and of the character and basically the theme, going along with the theme. So what else do I want to say? I want to say because the judges didn't have a actual score sheet, I think if I was in their position, I think it's based off of how familiar I am with the contestant's costume, as well as crowd reaction. Those are the two things that I would probably base it off of. And I have done that for my local con, where we didn't have prejudging, and it's super hard just watching the people walk on stage and then walk off and then write down a score. So as the organization, if you're gonna have a masquerade, put some thought into that. Have some feedback. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. Other than that, so yeah. So that was my con review for the Masquerade for Long Beach Comic Con. Before you go, there's one topic that I want to talk about in the competitive cosplay scene, and that topic is entries that have won at different cons re-entering masquerades over and over. So I ran into these guys at Long Beach Comic Con, which had competed against me at Anime Expo, and I didn't go to Comic Con, but they also competed in Comic Con as well, and with the same entry. So they did place in, They placed Master Division this year at Anime Expo, so I was surprised to see them again at this smaller con competing. So I don't think there's any value in, you know, winning at a big con and then coming to a little con to beat these guys. I get it from the other way around, where you're coming from a little con to a big con, but Comic-Con and Anime Expo, those are cons that are at the international level, meaning that like if you win at Anime Expo, the winners there went to Cosplay Summit, which is an international con. So getting an award there makes no sense for you to use that same entry to win a little con, you know. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of that play, and I'd be happy to like discuss, and I want to learn what you guys think about it. But other than that, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.